Good morning. Time for Morning Oasis once again, and I'm actually on time today. So glad to not have been running around already for 4 hours this morning. So I don't have any card pulls, you guys, so if anybody wants that in the first few minutes of the show, you've got to make sure you say something so I know. And let's see, morning announcements. On the 18th is the Chakra Workshop. It is filling up, so if you want a spot in that, make sure you call New Renaissance and book your appointment. I'm wondering if this is actually broadcasting because it's not looking like it. There we go. All right. It's hiccupy this morning. It was hard to get onto Facebook through the phone. Next announcement, March 25th, Emerald Spiral Fair up in Washington. If you live in the area and you want to custom order a pendulum before I come up, you can let me know, but you need to do that quick. I'm going to start doing pendulum making and prepare some things for that fair. So if you are in that area and you're interested in a custom piece, put your order in soon, probably in the next week, I would say, if you want to make sure that you can pick it up there. And is there another thing? There was something else. It's not coming to me. So those are the morning announcements for today. Remember, if you want a card pull, you got to let me know. Somebody posted something yesterday asking, and I missed it, and I still don't know who that was. So you'll just have to ask again. And today, what we're going to talk about is protection. I've had a lot of people talking about it this morning. Good morning, Clary. Good morning, Andrea. So good to see you both. You know, it's funny, Clary. I have now had 3 different people talk to me about how I need to go to Australia. I wanted to call it Oz because you just called it Oz. It's so funny how that happens. And also this morning, you guys, I had a lot of people. Well, I had 3 different people messaging me about how they had a dream about me last night and what I needed to do, something that I needed to do. So, Andrea, I'm going to pull a card for you. My tarot deck wants to talk to you. Good morning, Jessie. And so it was really kind of interesting how I was getting that confirmation from 3 different places. I mentioned it to my husband. It's like, wow, that's kind of interesting, don't you think? So thank you. I love it when you guys contact me and tell me that stuff. It's perfect for confirmation for myself. We tend to think of ourselves as a little bit crazy. The stuff that comes through, it can be pretty far out. You know, you can get some pretty far out visions and experiences that leave you feeling just rocked and confused and a little lost and like nobody else could possibly understand, that nobody else is going to get you and that you're all alone. And that's the beautiful thing about like this kind of a platform and this kind of group that we're building with each other, because we get to see, oh, I'm not actually crazy. I'm tapping into this feed that all these other people are also tapping into. There's my husband. He's walking upstairs. He's been working on his lunches for the next couple days. Bye, babe. So that's the point of connectivity, you know, and a lot of people criticize social media platforms. They criticize it. They criticize the use of it. And it really is about how you use it and what you do with it. And what is your goal with this social media platform? Are you trying to check out of your life? Are you trying to tune out of what use it as an avoidance mechanism? Well, then it's not going to be serving you as far as growth and development. It's going to be serving to maintain your current state. If you're using it to connect with people, because the truth is that people like us are spread throughout the world. There's a reason that there's not too many of us in one place. If you go down, Jessie says, if you go down there and play an Aboriginal musical instrument, is that what Jessie Dujari do? That was awesome, Jessie. That was awesome. And you know what? I actually love playing a didgeridoo. And I never put those 2 things together. That was, oh, thank you. That was perfect. So, yeah, so if we use the social media platform as a means of connecting with those of us who are spread out, then it becomes the most amazing and powerful tool, right? It just becomes this vehicle through which we can communicate. So we kind of talked a little bit about that yesterday when we were looking at our tools and our devices as being vehicles for ourselves to extend our influence, to extend our reach, to facilitate our lives in different ways. It was funny, I'm working with a new person that I'm super excited about who he is a music producer and creates music, and we're building a meditation CD series. It's going to be a trilogy series, and each piece, each collection will have 3 meditations in it. So it's going to be 3. And I'm super excited about it. Anyway, we were talking about it, and I'm like, maybe I can just record at home. You know, I've got a Zoom recording box that's like essentially a little handheld recording studio. I've got a mic and a little screen and everything. And I thought, oh, I could probably just record it at home. I record a lot of stuff at home. That's where I do my show from, which is my iPhone. And I used to do the Crystal Cocoon podcast, which we did from home, and it sounded beautiful. So I said, I'm just going to record a sample for you. Well, as soon as I started to record the sample, they're like, no, he needs a meditation. And I don't normally actually record specific meditations for individual people. So they had me do this meditation for him. And for me, my experience, it's just like, you know, when I'm on here and suddenly the lighting is changing. Well, in the room, the light's not changing. It's not like, I wouldn't even know it if I weren't being able to see the screen. I'm not weren't looking at myself as I do this show, because nothing here physically is changing. It's more like it's through that equipment that's changing. So while I was recording the meditation, it felt clear, everything was going through. And then I listened to it, and it's like, there's points where there's hisses and pops, and it sounds like I get really far away from the microphone, even though I'm right up at it, and I have one of those screens that you put in front of the microphone to kind of cut back on breath and pop sounds. So I'm right at the screen, you know, so I know my voice is consistent. I know I'm speaking at the same rate and the same tone, but it gets so quiet, and then really loud, and then really quiet. And at points it kind of gets staticky. And through the whole recording, it was like, it's tapping into the idea of it right now, is invoking that breath thing again. Then I'm having to like move the air, or, you know, really move that energy. And that's what's happening. You know, that's what's happening when you see me yawning, or you see me catching in my breath, or doing that. That's actually in your car. You know how when you put in the clutch, I don't know how many of you have driven manual, but when you put in the clutch, everything kind of goes, the engine kind of like disengages, and then you change gear and then slip that back in and release the clutch, and you're at a new speed now. You know, so that's the same thing that's happening when you see me yawning, when you see the breath catching. That's kind of like a shifting in energetic frequency that's coming through the body. So that was happening all through it. And I sent it to him, and I was like, well, this doesn't sound as good as I'm capable of making here. And one of the things I forgot yesterday, because I was so scattered and frazzled, to put into my bubble, and I don't think I've ever actually put it into my bubble, is my Zoom recorder, my equipment for recording sound. Didn't even think to do it. So yeah, I was really impacted by it. And he listened to the meditation, and he was telling me, he's like, wow, I felt really heavy. And like slowed down. Normally I'm kind of rushing through my day, and I was kind of taking it easy through the day. So it was a powerful meditation with a lot of downloads for him. So I'm not surprised that that was the impact. Anyway, I digress. So Andrea, your card pull. And we have enough time to do one other card pull if anybody is interested. So Andrea, you got the Devil. Now, one of the things I really like about this card is the way that it's depicted. See how the woman in the bottom there, she's all entombed and encased, and there's masks for her, and the devil's holding her heart, dancing on her, maybe dancing on her grave. The thing about the devil is, it is really about how we imprison ourselves in addictions, behaviors, beliefs, relationships that keep us feeling like someone else is holding our heart on the outside. And they keep us feeling like, and that's part of it, I don't know if you can see it, but the heart is actually in a web. Can you see that? It's kind of hard to see in here. So we imprison ourselves, and then we create the environment around us to prove that we're imprisoned. And I believe, Andrea, right now what you're doing is really looking at those imprisonment pieces. Just because I know you and I know what's going on in your life right now. So I think that you are ready to actually own that self-imprisonment and start releasing it from your life. And releasing the idea that you're imprisoned. So the next time you feel like somebody else is holding your heart, ask yourself, how come I gave it to them? Why don't I want it inside of me? What is it that they're holding that I need to know? Because this is like that key of understanding the self-imprisonment. Okay? Thank you, Jessie. I love meditation too, and I actually love working meditations more than quiet. Well, I shouldn't say that because I spend a lot of time in just quiet meditation as well, but working meditations are so fun. So we do those in the show mostly because, you know, it's that guidance that's coming through. So today, what I wanted to talk about was protection versus allowance and acceptance. I tend to operate, yeah, it is a hard lesson. You know what, Andrea? Honestly, I've been working on that lesson for 39 years. And I'll let you know when I feel like I'm done with it. My body is still a piece of my own personal imprisonment. You know, it's still a part of that. I'm still working that out. I've gotten rid of a lot of my own addictive behaviors that are self-defeating. You know, I don't know if any of you are aware, but like I recently quit smoking marijuana. I loved marijuana. It's a beautiful plant. She's got beautiful energy. She supported me. I never had to go on anti-anxiety or antidepressant medication, which I was given the option of several times in my various mental health treatments. But I never needed to because that was what I used. I was never much into alcohol. I used to be a cigarette smoker, but now all of that stuff is gone. My next addiction that I got rid of was coffee creamer, the not real kind, the non-dairy kind. That's not like coconut, you know. So that's gone. And I feel like the next step is going to be that kind of addiction to that white sugar, which is almost gone. I don't have very much of that left at all in my life. So it's like you got to unpeel the layers of that confine that we give ourselves to imprison ourselves within. That's where we're at. Yeah, exactly, Jessie. More for you. I used to consume that way. Oh, I loved it. So, the protection versus allowance it really ties into that. Actually, they go hand in hand. I remember when I was training with my teacher, her whole platform, her whole foundation was twofold. One, you are constantly grounding, connecting, and protecting yourself. She would say that you have various layers of protection. She would be like, well, when you're at home, you don't need as much protection. Yesterday was very difficult. This is what Andrea is saying. Yesterday was very difficult. I'm pretty sure that yesterday my heart chakra was changing or something like that. My heartbeat was very fast. Oh, yes. Andrea, yes. I personally was struggling. And then is protection versus allowance why I can't hear a bit better now? Yeah, it is actually, Jesse. So I personally was struggling yesterday. A couple of my friends have actually let me know that people have passed away. One this morning, one last night. People I know are struggling. These last couple days, that portal opening up of love energy that we talked about on Monday the 13th, again on Valentine's Day, Tuesday, that is seriously impacting all of us. Anything in our lives that makes us feel like we block love, that we are not worthy of love, that we will not get love, that love will not come to us. Even for those of us who have never actually felt loved by people in our lives, boom, this is going to hit you guys the hardest, hit me hard. You know, I have a lot of issues around that, receiving love. Like, I'm really good at giving love, but receiving it is much more of a challenge for me, which, man, you guys have been giving me a lot of opportunities to practice that. Thank you. Thank you. So, yeah, so she taught us protection. She was all about protection, and she would say, in your home, you don't need as much protection, so you wear like a cashmere sweater of protection. When you go out into the world, you put on a hazmat suit. And that was her view of the world, was that the outside world was toxic, and the only place that she could really enjoy and be safe was in her own home protection. So the other piece of her foundation was commandment, that you command the energy. Now, neither of these ever worked very well for me. They did in the very beginning, because protection gives you that space, that like breathing room. Okay, now I know exactly what it feels like to have that space, relief from the energy of the outside. So I'm not saying that protection is an invalid thing or that you should never ever do it. That's not my point. But to do it as a general practice, what I found was actually me protecting myself from all of my lessons and viewing lessons as things that were happening to me rather than an opportunity being presented to me. For instance, one of my good friends contacted me, and he was in a very dark place. He was really struggling, and he was driving with his father. They were driving down south through some regions that didn't have very good signal connection. So he was talking to me on the phone, and he was telling me, you know, that things were really hard, and he's just trying to figure it all out. And I had just been playing around with something myself, and so I said, well, how about I take your essence. I said, you're not driving, right? And he goes, no. I said, how about I take your essence out of your vessel for a little while and take you out of the creation for a little while in the sphere of divine love and support. And that just be where you're at for this time. Remember we played with spheres yesterday? So he was like, okay, yeah, try it. Let's do it. Let's do it. So we did it. And I was kind of holding him, and as I was doing so, I was kind of looking at, and I had asked him, do you want me to look at the connections and see if there's things that need to be released? And this was before I understood how critical it is for the individual to do this for themselves. I still was in the understanding, due to the teaching that I'd received, that it's the healer's job to do this for the person. So I was doing all this energetic cord maintenance and cleaning up and all of that stuff, and looking at his lines and working on his DNA and looking at his ancestral and all of those things. And then the line got cut off. And I'm sitting there and I'm holding him in the space, and I'm like, should I put him back? How long should I hold him? And I hadn't yet built my true guidance, connection, and understanding that I teach you guys now, but so I had to really question it and like, what do I do? And just try to feel it. And so I was just about to put him back in. I held him for about 20 minutes, and then I felt like, I don't know, maybe I should. Maybe I don't know if this is a good thing. I don't know if I'm doing the right thing right now. I don't know if this is safe, blah, 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 blah. And he calls me back, and he goes, don't put me back in. Don't put me back in. And I was like, oh, I was just about to. He goes, I know. Don't do it. I need the time, and I can put myself back in. And I was like, perfect, perfect. And that was when I began going, wait a minute, how much is what I do for others? How long will those impacts last? How efficient is it truly? How effective is it for me to do the work or for them? And he had to learn how to come out and go back in. And yes, I set the example. I created the area. I gave him the room and space from everything else that was pulling at him and distracting him and creating problems and conflict for him, to be able to go, oh, this is what it is to be free of all that. So that's an important thing. You know, that's a valuable gift. Protection can do that for you, give you that space, that room, right? But I'm the one that did all that work on him. And I wasn't telling him what I was doing. I was just kind of doing it because my teacher was extremely proprietary about her work. So I didn't feel like I was allowed to share it. And you know, his struggle relieved for a time, and then he went right back into it. And he actually is no longer even in my life anymore. So, you know, we can think that we're helping others by doing things for them. We can believe it, and it can be true. But the reality is we've got to do it for ourselves. Now, in the protection perspective, you know, for myself, I kept protecting and kept protecting and kept protecting myself. I was really starting to struggle actually with it. And it's funny because the devil card, you know, having that come up this morning, I remember there was this day where I was in meditation, and I was like I couldn't protect enough. Things were just really struggling. Things were happening around the house that I didn't feel like I had any control over. I was struggling. And I felt like I kept feeling like I was actually attracting more and more bigger things to protect myself from, bigger and bigger and bigger. And I had asked my teacher about it. You know, I told her, I said, I keep seeing in meditation these eyes over the fence, these eyes peeking at me over a fence. And I don't know what that means. And I feel a lot of fear when it comes up. And I said, and I keep feeling like, and I don't believe in religion. You know, I'm not religious. I have never read the Bible. I've never subscribed to Christianity or any religion, though I have been curious and studied them from a real peripheral perspective. So I didn't have like a belief system around the devil, but I told her, I'm like, I feel like the devil's in my house, and I feel like he keeps coming, and I don't know what to do about it, and I feel really scared. And she told me that it was because my energy was growing bigger than my protections, and that I wasn't protecting myself fully. And so I increased my protections again and continued in that process of protection and protection. And so anyway, I came out of the bathroom, and I got that sense again, and I should have been fully protected, you know, at this point. And I realized that, well, one, the devil was in my home. He was in my bedroom. The consciousness of that, I felt him so strong. It was like a man sitting next to me, and I sat down on the bed next to him, and we talked. And it was, I feel almost a little crazy saying it, but it was like talking to a brother that maybe went to prison and did things that you judged and thought, oh my God, what a horrible, evil person he is. And then you sit and have a conversation, and you start to relate and understand and begin to wonder and question. And he showed me how misunderstood that role is. The role of serving on the opposite end of polarity for this kind of an expression, because that's what we live in, is a polarized reality. And that this polarization is what creates movement and action. It's what creates motivation for growth. He expressed his sorrow and loss at feeling a kinship to all the rest of us, because we so thoroughly rejected from ourselves the part he had to play. And he kept showing me a nucleus with electrons and protons and neutrons all around it. And he kept asking me, would you take away the neutrons? Would you take those away? Would you only want protons? What would happen? You know, what would this atom even have energy in it anymore? And it really shifted things inside for me. And I thought, am I supposed to be protecting myself from this being, this entity, this fear? And I started thinking, well, is he the same as like devils and demons and, you know, these negative energies and curses and all the things that are really negative that people in our community get very scared about? And no, we don't need to, actually. And then a woman came. She wanted to do an exchange of readings. The funny thing is I really have nothing to do with her now. She's kind of one of those people that I'm like, whoo, she's really out there, not grounded in reality. I'm not sure where she's at, but it's not here. And however, what she gave me in that exchange of a reading was one of the most powerful messages, and it was definitely a channeled information. Because later I mentioned it to her and she had no memory at all of it. And it was that there is no need to protect. There's no need to protect because we're all the same. We're all one thing. And what we view as evil is purely the complete rejected parts of ourselves. And that it's in a process of full embracement that we release the evil and become whole. And so that was the confirmation right after the conversation with the devil, you know. And after that, I stopped protecting. I stopped clearing my energy. I stopped making it to be about what is wrong with others, rejecting others. Now, that's not to say that there aren't people that I choose to not be around. There definitely are people that I choose not to be around. That's good hygiene and maintenance, right? I also choose to wash my body every day. So in that respect, cleansing and flowing energy through the system, yes. But if somebody comes up to me and my immediate instinct is, oh, I want to wash my hands of that person, I got to look at that. I have to look at that because we have to get in the dirt and get our hands dirty in order to grow food, right? In order to grow our sustenance, in order to nourish ourselves. We have to get our hands in the dirt and into poop and into messiness if we want to care for and be a custodian of an animal, right? That brings us love and compassion and connection. I've been cleaning bunny poo lately. So we have to do those things. And I don't resent the bunny for the poop. I don't resent the ground for being dirty. I'm grateful for it. So I started bringing this awareness that I've gathered in various ways into this questioning of what is protection? Do I have to protect myself? What am I protecting myself from? And it's been a process. I'm not going to say it's easy, and I'm not going to say that it happens overnight, but it is a process of stepping into a state of allowance for what lesson is there before you. And the lessons, man, sometimes they suck, guys, I know. I mean, sometimes they're so hard and challenging and painful that we don't want to face them. And those lessons tend to come back and repeat through various relationships with people, through various situations that we find ourselves in. And it's that process of the repetition that allows us to look at it from all the different perspectives and angles. My favorite thing is when I hear people say, oh, I don't have problems with that. I already dealt with that. And then the next time you see them, they've been having problems with that very thing. Because it's layers. It's layers of understanding, layers of awareness. I remember this one time in therapy, I was really upset, and I said to my therapist, why can't I just be healthy? Why can't I just have a healthy life? Why can't I just be done with that and it be over? And she goes, well, Jessie, it took you 30 some odd years to learn it. Can't you give yourself a few weeks or a few months to undo that? And that's the reality, is that it takes time to release these layers, because mostly we believe that it does. We believe that we can only attack this part of it. So using that system, yeah, it's going to take time to release the layers. And the opportunities that come show us, that's another way that I do this to myself. That's another piece that I reject from myself. So even recently I had a friend who introduced me. I went to this party and the guy was just a total slime ball. I couldn't stand him. Ooh, I'm showing my own rejection, right? I'm showing my own projections, my own judgments. And he had so much judgment around weight. You could tell. And he felt very superior. He felt intellectually superior. He felt spiritually superior. He felt politically superior. And he felt physiologically superior to most everyone else there. And you could feel the judgment that he was looking at each of us with. And every conversation with him, I just observed him having them with everybody, was him simply showing his judgment. And so at the end, when we were leaving, and I pretty much just played my ukulele. But when we were leaving the party later, he gave me this big hug, and when I tried to pull back and away, because there's some feelings that just don't feel good, and it reminded me of a lot of things that don't feel good, and I tried to pull away, he pulled me closer and told me how beautiful I was. And it just made me want to crawl out of my skin. I didn't protect though, because I'm kind of, I don't think that way anymore. But I wanted to get the hell out of there. I was done. And it triggered me. It triggered deep stuff in me. It triggered stuff about my stepfather used to do that whisper in my ear stuff, and he was my molester. So it triggered that stuff, that little girl who felt like she couldn't pull away. She had to give him the hug every night, even though she didn't want to. She didn't have power or control to say, I don't want this in me. I don't want this by me. I don't want you in my exposure. So that was one of the triggered pieces. And she needed to be seen, because I often felt like I was powerless to say no to people. He also triggered the part in me about my own self-judgment. I tend to think, I'm pretty, but I'm fat, right? So I have judgment around my weight. I'm getting much better about it. I'm loving my body more and more. But that's still in there. There's still some of that judgment piece, that piece that says, I don't know, can I be successful? Can I show up and be on a stage and look the way that I do? Can I do these things and still love myself and be okay with it? So he triggered that part. He triggered the part where I have to admit, at points, I believe I know what others just haven't figured out yet. And I hold that belief, and then I start to judge myself for feeling superior, for feeling above them, or in any way feeling superior, basically, putting myself on the pedestal. I don't want to go up on the pedestal. So I'm working through it, Jesse, I promise. So all of those pieces got triggered by this one guy, right? And everybody else in my life is telling me, you're beautiful, don't let yourself feel that way. Everything else in my life was pushing me forward, saying, no, these are not problems for you. You're fine. No, you're not arrogant. No, you're not egotistical. No. But these were still in me, these beliefs around that were still limiting me. So I needed an opportunity to look at them. I needed an opportunity to be triggered in those ways. Now, it wasn't easy, and it's still something I'm working through. But all of that came forward. And I had to tell my friend, I will never be in a room with that man again. Sorry. I hope you're happy, and I love you. There's my husband's ride. But I will never do that again. I'll never expose myself to this person again. I had to take the power and say, no, I don't want that. She never had that permission. And my friend said, oh, really? That's so strange, because he actually really liked you. He told me that he told you that you were beautiful. And he's kind of a fat shamer too. I was surprised that he said that. And she said, I told him that you get that all the time from people. And he was like, really? People tell her that? Huh. And that was his response. And I said, yeah, he made me feel like I wanted to crawl out of my skin when he said that to me. And so, you know, did I protect myself from that? Had I protected myself and put my energy bubble around and rejected everything that he triggered in me and rejected everything that he presented for me, I would never have gotten those lessons. I would have never seen those girls as clearly as I did after that experience. I would have never been able to have the power to feel like I could tell my friend, I'm not going to be exposed to this guy. You have lessons still with him, I'm sure, and I love you, but I will not be around that. I wouldn't have felt that power, and now I'm actually doing that with other things. No, I won't do that anymore. No, I won't compromise my integrity or my sense of self in order to feel small where you're at so that you can feel happy with where you are. You know, I'm not going to cut myself and undercut myself in these ways anymore. And protection would have shielded me from all of that, right? So it could be argued, I should get in a room with him again to see if there's anything else to be triggered. However, I am aware that the universe is abundant and infinite, so if I still have a lesson in that, it will show up. And I'm not going to protect myself from it because it's going to show up. I'm just choosing to not continue with that particular person. I'm in allowance and understanding that the lesson will continue if it's necessary. So that's the fine, delicate, balancing line that I have found to navigate through that world of, but I have real damage here, I'm wounded here, I'm not safe here, I'm not happy here, I'm not good. Do I protect myself, right? And that's, you have to find that balance for yourself. I recognize that that guy is a part of all of us too. I recognize that that dude over there that I'm all like, I'm never getting in a room with him again, is in the whole, is a part of that infinite creation, is one with all of us. And I'm in allowance that if I must, he can come in, but I'm going to do what I have to avoid it. So you see, we're all learning. We're all in this process of understanding. We're all there. We're all working on it. And as each one of us gets it a little bit more and gets it a little bit more, the whole gets it a little bit more. So we're going to look at our protections today because I have a sense that a lot of you have protections, bubbles, spheres, protections. And we're going to see what happens when we drop them, okay, in our meditation. Does that sound like it's good? And Jesse, I would get out of your head, but your head is my head. So, you want me to get out of my head? That's a little more challenging. So go ahead and get comfortable, find your center, get yourself ready for meditation work, for this awesome work session that we're going to be doing that I wanted to do yesterday. I think maybe you guys needed to play with energy in a different way for a little bit. That's what it is, yes. Okay, so I'm going to take a sip of my coffee. Yeah, get your position comfortable. I'm hearing again to make sure that your lines are clear and straight and flowing. And let Molly know that she can be a part of your work, that you would like her to support you. That's for Jessie also. So go ahead and bring your focus and attention into the body, into the vessel, bringing it all the way in with breathing in and exhaling. Breathing in and exhaling. Breathing in this present moment, present awareness, smelling the smells, feeling the temperature of the air, and exhaling. Our body releases most of the toxins and chemicals that it's used, that are the result of our digestive system, our use in our cells. It exhales them through our breath and through our skin. This is how we actually release stuff from our body. I'm not talking about the poo track or the pee track. I'm talking about the actual releasing. This is where we release most of our toxins, our breath and our skin. So we're just releasing everything that's been used in the body and is now ready to be released. Everything that's been absorbed and taken in, and exhaling it, releasing it, because we're done with it. Not because we reject it, but because we've completed the work with it. Breathing in and exhaling. I can feel that many of you have already started to grow those roots down and out. Continue growing more roots, really grounding yourself into Gaia, into this space. And as you're doing so, receiving from Gaia, you're giving your energy down into Gaia and receiving from her in this flow. Letting that energy come up through the body, up through the legs, and up through the knees. A lot of us have knee trouble because we're just stubborn. Thanking our body for reminding us of our stubbornness. Bringing it up through the hips and thighs. Where we bear the weight of things, really bear that weight of our own obligations, our own movement, our own stance. Bringing it up through the hips, where we fear our movement. How do I move forward? What is my next step? Are trying to control that next step instead of allowing it to move. Bringing that energy up through that root chakra where we hold our fears. I will not make enough. I will not be held enough. I will not be loved enough. Looking at them as they come up, as you bring that energy up through that root. Coming up through the lower abdomen, through the sacral chakra, where we fear we will not be able to be creative or passionate, or we'll be burned by our passions or burned by our love. Bringing that up through the vessel, through the abdomen, up the back and spine as well, into that power space, our solar plex, right? Where we feel disempowered or overpowered. Maybe we struggle so much for power, we've weakened the area, diluted it. Bringing that energy up, just cleansing and scrubbing, looking at whatever comes up through the heart space, where we show and connect our love, connect with each other, connect in with the creation on the consciousness level. Really, this is where we do that from. Let me get fill and release. I'm feeling something kind of like in the kidney area, but more forward of that. Spleen, that's what it is, the spleen. So our spleen is a filter organ, you guys. It's a filter in our body that cleanses the blood, cleanses things out, things that we don't need. So thank that filter for helping you see through things and get cleansed. Thank you. Flushing and washing just like a sponge. Imagine it's just like a sponge, wringing out, running fresh water, wringing it out, cleaning it. Thank you. That feels better. Good. Up into that heart space. Good. Good. Bringing it up through the shoulders and down the arms. We've got some deep red energy coming in right now. So some people are starting to feel a little scared. Thank that and allow that Uriel to come in and support us. She's lightening that redness into a little more of a pinky. We've got some Chemuel energy coming in, that yellow and orange. Good. Cleansing and releasing. Bringing it up through the throat. Shifting into that angelic energy that's coming through right now, you guys. We're going to have a little bit more of these yawns and catches. Do 3 deep breaths if you're not getting a yawn. Do a big in and exhale. Breathing in and exhaling. Breathing in and exhaling. Feel now that shift in your energy, how now it's a different level coming through. Bringing it up through the head, where a lot of us get stuck in this belief work. How do we speak it? How do we tell it? How do we share it? How do I share what I'm understanding? Am I understanding what I think I'm understanding? Hello, boss. And up into that crown space where we're just going to allow the energy to bundle and gather and open the crown. Opening it up, sending Gaia and your consciousness up to connect into Source, into the infinite consciousness. I like to visualize it as like layers piercing in, you know, like a jawbreaker, how you get to that soft little layer center. Of course you can, a boss. Just do the normal grounding meditation that we do. Joining into that center space, into the inner realm where that infinite consciousness is still fully cohesive, one whole consciousness, and go all the way into the heart of that consciousness. From the center of the sphere, we can look in all directions. We can look at all things. Keep your consciousness here in this state, in this heart of Source, as you allow that golden energy to flow down through the body, down through the head, recognizing that your understanding is allowance, that you can release and relax the mind from thinking and allow it to instead observe. The third eye observes. It does not try to shape what it observes. It observes what is there. Bringing it down, that consciousness, Source, infinite consciousness energy down. Speaking. We do not speak from our mind. We speak from our truth, from the whole of ourselves, a balance of our heart and our mind, our desire to connect and share, and our desire to understand, be understood, be received. And we also choose not to speak to receive, to hear and listen. Our ears are actually a part of our throat chakra. Speaking and hearing are a part of truth. Bringing it down through the heart and lung space, that we can love what we receive and see even when we don't enjoy it. Seeing that love energy just starting to radiate forward, that green light coming from our heart, bringing that down through the solar plex, that we can feel empowered, feel ourselves, feel who we are, that sense, bringing it down into our sacral, that we are as passionate and inflamed as we need to be in order to cook ourselves, cook that food that we want to eat, to give it that time to simmer, to understand, all of that. It's all in balance. Bringing it down into the root, We are grounded, we are safe, we are held, we are loved, even when we don't think we are, right? Because we're still here. Bringing that down through the roots and sending that liquid gold energy down into the earth so that Gaia can feel her connection so clearly through your conduit as well. She doesn't need it, but it sure is lovely. So, feeling that how your consciousness is still up in source and your awareness is in the body, take a moment to observe this state that you're in. Just observe it for a moment. From this source consciousness perspective, I want you to ask Source to show you what is evil. Just ask it. Show me something I believe to be evil. If you need the mirror to look at this, call up your mirror. Everything is available in Source. Infinite abundance. See, even I still have things pop up that I view as evil. Looking at that evil thing. Ask, yes, to see another mirror next to it. This is Source's mirror. This is Source's little window. And ask to see how Source views evil. That evil thing that you have called forward. Ask to see yours and then Source's view. One right next to the other. And what do you see? How do you feel? What do you understand about this evil thing? Ask to see a third mirror. In this third mirror, ask to be shown the piece of yourself, the little girl, the little boy, the little aspect, or the big one that has been rejected and that is only visible in this mirror. Ask to see that part of yourself that you believe this evil has taken from you, or that you cannot allow within. It's going to have a couple different connotations depending on your perspective. Ask to see that part that's been rejected. Now bring the three mirrors, just like they're filters, over one over the other to see the truth. And what do you see? Just observe. For me, I just see myself in wholeness. What do you see? I'm feeling a great sensation of tingling in my root chakra, down in my seat. Allow that Gaia energy to come up and support you. Because Gaia loves all things. They're all part of her. We all come from the mud, from the earth. We are made from the material of this planet. Allow her to support you as the rains come for me here. Allow the rain energy the water falling from the sky to flow through you as it washes you clean of all these beliefs that held all that parts of yourself outside of you. It made you reject that sad little old man that just wanted to be accepted. You can continue to stay in this state and call up other things that you view as evil. First in your mirror that you are looking at, your projection. Then look at Source's view. Then look at the rejected view of you and bring them together. I love you. When you're ready to come back into this state, remember to come back out of that Source space, bringing yourself back down into yourself. Pull yourself like a thread down through each of your chakras, down through your center, all the way down into your seat. And make sure your energy is touching even your toes as you come back in from that Source space, bringing that Source love and connection down into you. Beautiful, you guys. Thank you. I'm so grateful for you all for showing up and for all the love and support you've been giving me over this stressful time with my son. Have a wonderful day.